Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jennifer Scotto, and I am the North American Sales Manager for small and medium-sized business here at Checkpoint. I'll be helping our speakers out today with our webinar, and I also want to point out that there is a question area for you to write any questions in for our speakers as we go through this. And with no further ado, we are very excited to discuss the cybersecurity that we specifically tailored for the Fabricare and textile industry. Sidney, I'll pass it over to you so you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. I'm Sid Chelsky, Executive Director of the Canadian Fabricare Association, and together with my co-sponsor, Fabricare Canada Magazine, Canada's national trade magazine for the Fabricare industry, and partnering with Cindi Carter, of Checkpoint Software Technologies, are presenting this webinar. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused our industry to create new ways of maintaining our sales. For example, many cleaners were forced to close their depot locations because the drop in sales could not provide enough income to even pay the rent, let alone the salaries to staff them. Thankfully, due to many great operators and with the help of associations such as the Canadian Fabricare Association, the Dry Cleaners Launders Institute, CINIT, and some great individuals in the industry, such as Dave Coyle of Maverick Cleaners and Mark Ulbrich of the RootPro.com, many cleaners were able to transition from depot locations to route pickup and delivery. As a result of these changes, cleaners are now additionally responsible for not only protecting the financial information that they must have to process payments such as credit and bank cards, but are now privy to access codes for homes, lockers, and garages for them to pick up and deliver cleaning and laundry when the customers are not home. In my case, as an executive director of an association, I am privy to a lot of financial information from our members, which must be protected at all costs. There's constant worry and fear that our computer system will be hacked and information stolen that will cause irreparable damage to our association, our members, and similarly to the customers of our members, as well as others in the industry. Several years ago, I installed a Checkpoint security system called Zone Alarm, which has proven to be the best system that I had to prevent hackers and ransomware. Over the past year, Zone Alarm prevented a ransomware attack on our computer and warned me about several viruses that were attached to downloads that I believe were safe. I've been in the industry for many years, and because of my family's success in operating a cleaning and laundry company, I'm dedicated to giving back to my fellow members and other operators by helping them to protect their businesses and prosper as well. Now let's move forward. And Cindy, tell us a bit about your role at Checkpoint and the cybersecurity industry as well.
Thank you, Sidney. And hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with the Canadian Fabricare industry. And as I've gotten to know Sidney a little bit over the last few weeks as we put together this talk, I really did a lot of introspection into cybersecurity and the Fabricare and textile care industry. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. My role with Checkpoint Software Technologies is that of a field CISO or CISO, depending on which part of the country you're from. I'm a Chief Information Security Officer 3 times, and now fourth one here with Checkpoint. With Checkpoint, I help our customers as well as our partners in engaging in security strategies and tactics, helping them build their plans, their roadmaps, identifying problems, solving problems, and most importantly, really building a trusted relationship with our partners as well as our customers. On the other side of the coin, I do several different presentations throughout the industry, whether it's Canadian Fabricare or healthcare, specifically as a vertical that I have a lot of experience in. And really, for me, it's all about human safety. As a security practitioner, and when you look at page 6, at least of the version that I have of my CISSP manual, the #1 goal of security is human safety. And Sidney and I are going to talk a little bit more today about human safety, protecting that data in the digital and the physical realm for your customers and for your businesses. I'll be joined here also by Brandon Scotland with Checkpoint Software Technologies. Brandon, do you want to give a little introduction to yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you. So hi, everybody. My name is Brandon Scotland, and I'm a channel account manager with Checkpoint, and I'm responsible for all of our latest and greatest up-and-coming 2-star and net new partners across Canada, as well as our distribution channel. So bringing everything into the country and keeping everything locked and loaded. Thank you.
Excellent. And you've got some wonderful information you're going to be sharing with the group here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get the slides started here. So bear with me just a moment while it loads in case there's a bit of a delay. There we are. All right. So this is the official title of our presentation, Cybersecurity Designed for Fabricare and Textile Industries. Note the little, you will see some subtle references to fabric and textiles there. So we are here to have this presentation with you all today and are delighted that you joined us. And Sidney, I do want to say you're far too modest. You are an icon in this industry. I did my own research on you as well. I wanted to give a little bit of credit here where credit is most absolutely due. He is also, folks, by the way, a published author. He has several articles around the Fabricare and textile industry as well. So go to the Canadian Fabricare Association LinkedIn page, look at some of Sidney's published works. They're phenomenal. A little bit about myself here before we dive in. I am an honorary Canadian citizen, by the way. I have worked and lived in Canada from St. John, New Brunswick, all the way to Vancouver, but born and raised in the Motor City, Detroit, we call that. And just like many of my Canadian friends with an ice rink on every corner, I had Olympic hopeful dreams as a young child. I am still a figure skater today, never really quite made it to the Olympics, but I do still compete. As my career unfolded in front of me, I was pre-med before I went the IT route, and then a fork in the road happened and I found my way into cybersecurity. And I can tell you that one of the most important things to me, as I mentioned earlier in the statement around the purpose of security being human safety, that has really been what I have embraced in my career. And I love working with organizations like the Canadian Fabricare Industry or Association, so that we can help the small businesses, the small to medium-sized businesses, understand that security attackers, things do not just happen to large enterprise organizations. You have just as much rich information and personal information that cyber attackers are interested in. And we are here, okay, pun coming, sorry, I have to warn you. We are here to help you avoid having the cyber criminals take the shirt off your back. All right, I'll try to keep the cheese down to a minimum here. So let's talk a little bit about relationships. Yes, we're going to talk about them. There's relationships that each and every single one of you have with your customers, with your business-to-business partners, as well as within our own families. Having the goods and services that the Fabricare and textile industry provides for us is foundational to each and every single one of our livelihoods. Think about the fact that just your own personal brand, the clothes that you wear, the things that make you feel good about yourself and feel confident. And we trust those folks that are in the business to clean those things, to keep us looking good and feeling great. But think also about the services that are provided to hospital organizations and police, EMS, fire services. Those things are meant to keep those linens and those goods sanitized. And well, here we are with the global pandemic that's still ongoing, and those services are even more critical now. And those businesses are essential to making sure that the pandemic doesn't spread by virtue of the fabric, because it can. It is a virus. So there's so many things that go into making sure that those services can be provided, as well as the Canadian Armed Forces. All of those things where uniforms are required, whether it's for manufacturing work, defense work, and as I just mentioned, hospital work, those things are super important. And that relationship that the businesses have to each other, as well as to those small to medium-sized businesses with their customers, is important. And trust is at the heart of it. And much of what we're going to talk about today, as far as the types of transactions that Sidney was alluding to earlier when he talked about how people give their garage codes now to their laundry service to pick up and drop off their laundry, or the fact that we're sharing our credit card information with several different entities now that may not be the direct line to that business that we were working with. So I'll move on here for just a moment. But I do want to talk with you a little bit about how the pandemic has changed our business models, right? Face to face, there we were, walking in, having that interaction with our trusted provider of that service. And then we ended up, all right, I'm trying to advance the slide here and it's not working. Oh, there we go, sorry. And then we end up in this new model here where it's pickup and delivery and call us. I actually had one entity that I worked with as a dry cleaning service, laundry pickup, that wanted me to leave my credit card information on their voicemail. And you can imagine how the hairs on the back of my neck stood up when I thought, I have no idea what's going to happen to that information on some voicemail that I don't even know if it was just like an old-fashioned answering machine or if it was some digital answering service. Where is my data going? And those are the things as consumers, as well as to business, that you need to be thinking about as far as where is my data going? And speaking of that, this is the one thing that really hits home with me as well. We're giving access to our premises, whether it's your business or to your personal home, so that those pickup and delivery services can function. But what a wonderful way it is that if we think about it, how well we adopted in the industry of, instead of having to just be a storefront model, we were able to do this. And so that those small to medium-sized businesses were able to stay afloat. And not only that, thrive in the pandemic. So moving on for just a little bit, we're going to continue talking about relationships here though, but this time we're going to talk about our relationship with technology. And think about in the days of the past. Now, this may still very well represent an existing laundromat or an existing laundry service facility. This definitely should not be representing the current technology that they're running on. But oh my goodness, I think I can tell you right now, I know I've seen this in a couple of the dry cleaners that I've been at. And so we have to think about our relationship with technology as well. And as these small to medium-sized textile and Fabricare businesses have embraced the pandemic and have embraced new ways of doing their business, so too technology is going to help support them to ensure that their transactions are safe, that they're secure, that their supply chain remains the same, safe and secure as well. And Brandon will be talking about that in just a moment. Because think today now what some of these laundromats do look like. I know that you can't tell from the detail on the screen, but some of these machines now, instead of taking coins, you can swipe your credit card. So that machine is acting as an IoT or an Internet of Things device, capturing credit card information, your personal data, and sending that transaction to the banking institution so that laundromat can get paid. But think about that also in terms of some of the laundromats also have an ATM or a token dispenser in them. So you would put your credit card or your debit card in there to get the coins out or the tokens out to run the machine. So now we're thinking about those types of financial transactions that are taking place in these businesses. And much of this data is no longer saved on a computer like you just saw on that desktop there. They're being shared in the cloud. And we're not going to talk a whole bunch about cloud services and strategy. That's for a different topic. But we do need to think about in terms of the fact that the cloud, especially for small to medium-sized businesses, can be a significant way to enable your business to transact securely. But there are also considerations to be made in the cloud as well. So moving on from some of this, let's talk a little bit. Here's some numbers for you. I was astounded actually to come across these numbers. Brandon and I reviewed these yesterday, and 97.9 of all firms in Canada are under 100 employees, meaning they fall into that small to medium-sized business category. And 99.8% of all Canadian businesses are small to medium-sized firms. So think about that in terms of the company that you keep. You are in very good company. There is a strong small to medium-sized business industry throughout Canada and throughout the United States as well. But we want to talk in terms of how are we going to help you sift through some of the technology haze, sift through some of that complexity to make it simple for you and easy for you to secure your businesses and ensure that your customers can have that trusted relationship with you going forward. The second slide that I'll show you here, just a few more numbers. Look at all of you out there. 852,000 and counting entrepreneurs. And I applaud all of you, by the way. I'm too chicken to be an entrepreneur myself. But I think that those people that serve that purpose, especially in this industry, are critical to our livelihood. As I said, it's personal to each and every single one of us. There's more than 1.3 million businesses in Canada. And as I just said on the previous slide, 98% of the businesses have less than 500 employees. So when you think in terms of not only securing your business itself, but think in terms of the employees that work for you as well, or those that are in your supply chain. That all makes up the fabric, I did a pun, of the business model to which technology will enable you to do those transactions securely. And you will then not be able to sleep at night, hopefully, with avoiding the risk of a cyber attack. So with that in mind, the last thing I want to talk about is the legal and the privacy aspect, right? It is a new year, 2022. I am very hopeful that this is going to be a great year for all of us. I'm very optimistic, but there are new laws on data privacy, data sharing, and security that do need to be, that we need to be mindful of. And the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, or PIPEDA, is one that is crucial for every small to medium, every business, whether you're small to medium or enterprise, needs to make sure that they're following. And the tools and the technologies, the things that Checkpoint offers that can help you assure that you can attest to these regulations so that if you do have an audit, or we hope this wouldn't happen, but if there were the event where you were to have a security incident, the information that you're going to be able to gather from the technology solutions that Checkpoint provides will help you with that reporting capability, will help you with those attestations, and will also help you understand where you may have some gaps between your technology and your business practices so that we can help shore that up for you. So without any further ado, I am going to hand this over to Brandon, and he's going to talk through a little bit more about Checkpoint technologies and solutions, excuse me, to help you. Brandon, take it away.
Thank you. Alrighty, let's get started. So just wanted to share a little bit for you guys about Checkpoint as a brand. And some of you might not have heard of us before. So just to set the stage, Checkpoint is one of the largest global cybersecurity companies in the world, with well over 100,000 customers worldwide, operating in over 88 countries around the globe, with over 6,200 partners helping us, reach our customers just like you guys. With over 25 years of cutting-edge technologies, Checkpoint is the industry's most visionary player. And I don't mean that in just a marketing, ego way. We actually do have the highest number of developers in the industry who are actually constantly scouring the deep, dark web, looking for the latest and greatest when it comes to malware and the malicious attacks that could potentially be launched. So we're always doing our research and gathering that threat intelligence to understand what's going out there and making sure we can protect it before it gets out there. I've been traded on the NASDAQ since 1996, and with well over 5,100 employees worldwide with top talent. We're trusted by Fortune 500 companies, all the way from the top to the bottom, even the SMBs as well. So we kind of fit everywhere in the market. So as Cindy was saying, with Checkpoint yesterday, we have a similar story to the laundromat and textile industry. Things were a bit different back in the day when technology was only really needed to be, a big honking desktop that sits on a a counter or a physical firewall that was, smaller in its nature. And that was really because back in the 90s, when this kind of security technology was invented, the concept was, let's secure our castle. Let's build our walls wide and tall. And then that way, no one can get in. They can't climb over it. It's safe and secure. No one comes in, no one comes out. Very straightforward and simple. But as times have changed, things have been a little bit differently. I've been different in the sense that even the textile industry has changed a lot, as we've talked about today, with the way that things have been from a services standpoint, and even the fabrics and such that are being worked on. A similar type of fashion happened in the IT landscape as well, as the attack surface had widened. Clouds were no longer the white fluffy things that are in the sky. We now have Google and Amazon and Microsoft services hosting up there that companies can work from. SaaS applications are a thing too now, with being able to have email instead of being on premise in servers. We have it up in the cloud as well, with Gmail and O365 and Dropbox for file sharing, and a number of other solutions. We have Internet of Things. We talked a bit before about the payment structures at some of the laundromats, and that's a big thing. I always tell everybody, my father actually recently bought a cooker, a slow cooker, and a smoker, sorry. And it actually has a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signal that it can alert you when your meat is done cooking. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, who would have thought barbecues these days are getting, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connection? Absolutely blew my mind. But it's a very real thing of today. And BYOD is another very prominent move as well. A lot of organizations are letting their employees work from their mobile devices, maybe even their own personal laptops. And that's a very big shift from a security standpoint. So with all of these things in mind, Checkpoint's had to become more than a firewall company. And that's kind of what's blossomed our offerings that we offer today. We call it the Infinity Architecture. And I'm going to go through just really briefly in what some of these things are and what they do, to give you a little bit of insight into where security could potentially be outlined for your organizations. So to start off, we're going to talk about endpoint, which is really just your laptops and your desktops. Being able to secure your Windows and Mac endpoints with antivirus, next generation antivirus, and being able to have forensics to understand how things could potentially get in and how we prevented them is key to making sure we reduce the attack surface and essentially prevent all zero-day attacks and ransomware. Mobile devices are a key thing too. Our Harmony Mobile secures our Android and iOS devices. So whether that's either device from a phone perspective, we're blocking applications that are downloaded, because not everything on the Google Play Store and Apple Apple App Store is well and safe. There are potential for things to go south there as well. But also networks that are being connected to and other things, we block all of that and secure all of it. On the email and collaboration space, that's back to what we talked about from the email perspective with the O365 and the G Suite. We do things like ensuring the files that are coming into your email are safe and secure and not a piece of malware, or phishing attacks. I'm sure a lot of people have seen a lot of those, especially with COVID, what's happened with the pandemic. There's been a lot of emails about, top 10 ways to prevent yourself from getting it at home. And, it was never really going to a link that went to that, right? And then last but not least, our trusty dusty firewalls that we're known and loved for. And the Quantum Spark is our SMB appliances that are grafted just for organizations like yourselves, to make sure that it's a low touch and easy and simple kind of way to make sure your on-premise infrastructure is secure. So enough of the nerd talk. I'll get into some more of the data points here. 54% of attacks on SMBs are successful, resulting in a breach. And as Cindy was talking about earlier, it's a very large number when it comes to Canada, with the actual landscape of the country being predominantly SMB. Only less than 7% of larger organizations actually have a successful breach because they've made the investments into the cybersecurity space. And it begs the question. SMBs are easy targets for cybercrime with minimal investments in cybersecurity. And the concept is always, organizations always thinking, why would hackers attack me? I'm small. But with, almost like trolling with phishing, they're just waiting to see with the large number of people that are there, who's going to take the bite, right? And the largest concerns for SMBs, not only with the why me, but also the reason that they haven't made the giant shift is these kind of 3 C's, let's call them, the largest concerns. Complexity, cost, and comfort are the three major takeaways for SMBs in terms of what, cybersecurity looks like. They don't want anything too overly complex. It's going to require too much hands-on, engagement. The cost, typically these kinds of things can cost a little larger amount of money. So, that's always a bit of a barrier. And then comfort as well, right? Being able to understand, is the vendor that I'm working with, are they letting me sleep at night? Like Cindi was saying earlier, that's very critical. And the good news I have for you guys is that we have a brand new SMB bundle that simplifies the complexities in a cost-effective manner while ensuring that your cloth is covered. And that pun was intended. Don't worry. So I wanted to showcase for you what that looks like. So we have now bundles of 10, 25, 50, 100, and 250 users. So we dial right down to the sub 10 mark. That includes a physical appliance, like we talked about earlier, the mobile security, endpoint security, and the email and the application security, with 24/7 support, with optional cloud management and backup appliances to ensure if something goes down, you still got one up. And it protects everything on the right side there, from your Apple and your Android devices to your Mac and your Windows laptops, to your email, whether it's Google or Microsoft. And then obviously any of the on-premise potential issues you could have as well on the malware. So all of this stuff here we can talk about. We work very closely with our partners to engage on and make sure if you're interested in hearing more about that, we can loop them in to talk to you about them more. And that is all I have for today.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Anytime.
I know that was a lot of information that we sent to everybody there, but this was really just an introduction to what we can do to help you. We are here to help. Jennifer is poised to engage with any of the small to medium-sized businesses for the Canadian Fabricare Association in the textile industry. Sidney, you've been so gracious to share part of your journey with us. I wish I had met you many, many years ago, and we would be having some reminiscing right now. But any closing thoughts as to the information that we shared here today?
I think that, excuse me, I think that you gave a good background of why people have to start looking at their security systems with all the data that they're entrusted with. It just, like I said earlier, it just scares me that that I would allow something to come into our computers and steal the information and cause all kinds of havoc to a business or to our customers. And we would lose their trust from there on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Jennifer, did anything come in across the Q&A? Do we have anything from our audience?
We do, actually. Give me
Okay.
1 second. All right. Here's a question. As a business owner, knowing my business is secure is one thing, but I also need to show my customers that their data is protected so they can trust to do business with me. How can I show this to my customers that they're protected?
So one way that you can do that, as I mentioned earlier, there are the data privacy and security laws that you must comply with. Those are regulatory. So those really aren't optional, especially in a transaction-based industry where there's financial information and personal information being shown. So there are when you attest to those regulatory items, you should get some type of a what's the right word I want to say? Like a sticker, something that you can put if you're looking for something visual, right? You can get a sticker that shows that in your window. You can get something that shows that you can put on your website that shows that you are protected by and certified by whatever the authority is, whatever that body is. The other thing that you can do, and Brandon can expound on this a little bit as well, is Checkpoint can provide those assurances as well. So of course, we're not going to run a vulnerability assessment report and show that to your customers, of course, but there's other ways that we will provide that assurance to those owners. So business or Brandon, do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some service offerings that allow, organizations just like yourselves to know kind of the posture or the security outlook of how your organization's outfit today. And basically, we keep an appliance on site for maybe a couple weeks, depending on how long you want it to be. The longer, the better, the more intelligence we get. Then basically we pump out a nice little executive report for you that says, okay, this is an issue, this is an issue. And it's like almost like a checklist that you can go down and say, okay, this is a concern, I need to fix this. This is a concern, I need to fix this. And then at that way, when you're finished that checklist, you're safe and secure and everything's going to come back 100%.
And while we're on that topic of that assessment that can be done, the one thing also that can happen as far as audits go, right? And I've been through several audits in my career, and that is one of the things that you can also obtain is an attestation that you were audited by an independent third-party auditor and that they are verifying that you are doing the appropriate, or you have implemented rather, the appropriate security controls to provide that assurance of data and privacy protection. So those attestation letters can be made available as well. Jennifer,
Excellent.
anything else?
We have one more. So this person says, I don't know the first thing about IT. How can I secure my business properly and actually know that it's working?
Absolutely. I can take that one.
Go
So
ahead.
I think one of the best ways to know that, especially if you don't know a lot about IT, the good news is a lot of organizations out there that do. They specialize in that, right? Just like they wouldn't know about the Fabricare world, they would come to you for that, right? So what we work with partners across Canada in all sorts of shapes and sizes that specialize in cybersecurity. And really, at the end of the day, we can make sure that we're engaged with them to make sure that maybe they can even manage your IT on your behalf to make sure that you are covered, and they can get real time alerts to let you know if something goes south or there is a potential issue they can let you know about. Whether it's like a weekly meeting even to ensure that that you guys are constantly up to speed on what's going on and what upgrades maybe they're doing or whatever it is. There's a lot of different methods that you can go about. Including with the SMB bundle, right? It does have a to Z level of security that covers not everything from the user to the environments that you could be working on or working from, right? So it can be a plethora of both. We can have the partners work together with you to ensure that the SMB bundle is the right fit, and you make sure it's installed correctly and managed and all that, not all the 9 yards. It's pretty self-explanatory type of solution in itself. But if you did want that extra peace of mind, there's always an option to make that happen too.
And I'm going to add on to that a little bit too, Brandon. Thank you for that. The other aspect of that is don't be shy about saying that you may not be tech savvy or you may not be an IT guru, because as Brandon said, that's not the business that you're in, but that's the business that we're in. And part of my role here is to help you have those conversations. I call it from the living room to the boardroom. So we will enable you to have those conversations with your auditors, with your business to business partners, and with your customers, as well as with Sidney and his team at the Canadian Fabricare Association. So that's part of what my role is. I have a technical background, but I also can help have those conversations to help you and your organizations and your customers have that assurance and have it in terms that you understand, so that your customers can feel confident about doing business with you. Your business to business partners can have that confidence as well. That is where that level of transparency leads to that trusted relationship.
Thank you, Cindy. And
Sure.
we have one more question.
Oh, Sidney, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You might be on mute.
There we
There
go.
you go.
There you go.
A lot of our members and people in the industry have point of sale systems, and I think they may want to know how that will mesh with your system to protect the information. And the second part is that now that they're doing a lot of pickup and delivery, a lot of that information is being transferred onto the driver's phones because that way they don't have to go to a customer who's not home, et cetera. How are you going to protect all that?
Absolutely. I think the number one thing there would be the mobile piece, because that's exactly what we were talking about on today's webinar was the BYOD, right? Having organizations working from cell phones, right? And that's something that our software application is able to prevent against, to make sure that, if that device is getting used for either a personal reason or a business reason. Either way, what it's being used for is being, safe and secure. Whatever connections it's making, whatever things it's trying to download, whatever data it's processing, all is being made sure nothing's being snooped or confiscated off that device. So that would be the answer to the first part of that question. And the POS systems, depending on how that all comes together, because if those devices are proprietary and have certain connection types, it would have to be either through the SMB bundle firewall or the endpoint solution, depending on how the outtake is. Because I know a lot of organizations are moving to a endpoint POS system now, like an iPad or something like that. And if the transactions are being facilitated like that, we have the endpoint and mobile device security. And then if it's the traditional method where it's kind of proprietary, it would run through the network on premise, which the firewall would take care of. So as I was saying before, A to Z, all covered.
And that's one thing to also highlight on there as well, is that Checkpoint will work with you to understand what your business looks like right now. What devices do you have that you exchange information with? Whether it's a pen and paper, literally, I mean that, or whether it's that mobile phone that's in that delivery driver's van, or it's his personal device, or whatever the case may be. So we will thoroughly assess what your environment looks like. How does your business communicate, whether, again, it's business to business or customer to business, so that then we can map out what the appropriate solution and capability is to protect that privacy and security of the data. Thank you for that, Sidney. That was an excellent question.
Thank you.
And we have one more question for either one. Does Checkpoint provide a security assessment service for my company?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I was like, who's taking that one? Yes, we absolutely do. We actually have 3 levels. One more of a basic one that it's, again, like I was talking about with the appliance being on site, trying to check everything that's going on in the network, making sure everything's squeaky clean. And then we also have one that's a little bit more engaged. Obviously there is a cost effective on the second piece when there's, hands-on people engaged, but we do have what we call an advanced assessment that does do a little bit more of a hands-on deeper dive with a person versus, a piece of hardware. But either way, both work great. I always say to my clients, I say, hey, start with the free one. Why not? It's 2 weeks and free of charge. You get a checklist. And then if you think it's dire enough that you need to get the advanced assessment out, then, take the next gradual step, right? But that's the good news there, is that we can start with something free of charge, very simple and quick, and have something that looks good and is something actionable. Because a lot of those types of assessments can be a little bit more challenging to understand or consume or understand how to fix. And that's really where ours comes in nicely, is because even just the first page is just an overview, pictures, nice and short and simple, lets you know everything. And then as you flip through, there's more detail as you go further. So you name it, we can do it.
And those whether it's the self-assessment or whether it's the one where you do engage with someone from Checkpoint, we want to ensure that Checkpoint's whole mission is to do the right thing. So we're all about, and our tagline has always been, secure your everything. And that's really, we hold true to that. So if you do the self-assessment or you engage in one to have someone assist with it, we're going to be with you through that whole journey. If you get your assessment and you don't understand what it means or how to interpret the results or which actions to take, whether it's the self-assessment or the one that we engage with, we're going to work with you to ensure that we're going to help prioritize where those areas are that need to be prioritized, and then help you develop a plan over time so that you can understand where you may need to make some investments for the future. Because we all know everybody lives on a budget here, even small to medium-sized businesses. So that way it can help you plan for 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, and so on and so forth. So where those investments need to be placed. And of course, all along the way during that time, technology is going to evolve too, and hopefully for the better. So there may be some new things, some new research, because Checkpoint's research and development is second to none. But there may be even some new advancements in things that we're able to provide along the way that will also help enrich not only your experience with it, but also help provide those extra assurances as new privacy laws come out or new data assurance laws come out. so that we can help you stay in compliance with those regulatory items.
If I may add, a lot of consultants in our industry and those who are very successful all subscribe to the fact that we have to provide value added to our customers. And it's not only in the production and the product that we provide. I think this is part of the value added, the protection that our customers can feel that they're dealing with a reputable company that will protect all their information.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Sidney.
And
Jen,
that
did
is
we have
it
any
for
others?
questions. No.
All right.
Yeah, no questions
Well,
left.
Okay. I think that that's a wrap, everyone. I hope we get a chance to come back and do another one of these. Sidney, I hope you'll have us back.
My pleasure.
And if anybody needs to reach out, Jen, I think that contact information and all of that will be supplied through Sidney and through the Canadian Fabricare Association. So making sure that everybody can get in touch with us for any follow-ups that are needed.
Definitely.
All right.
Do you think, is it possible that you might want to give out your email for them to contact you directly?
Oh, of course. I wonder
ahead.
if there's a way to, well, I can't really write it on the screen here, but what we can do is we can add it to the webinar afterwards. We could put our contact information on the webinar because I know some people will be able to view this after the fact as well. So because it's an on-demand. So we'll make sure our contact information is in there. And you can find us on LinkedIn as well.
Just going to say that. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to review this this webinar, it's going to be recorded, and
Yes.
So they can get back to it after.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you.
And when in doubt, ask
everybody.
Sidney. He'll get a hold of us.
Definitely.
My phone's going to
Sorry,
start
Jen.
ringing pretty soon.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Thank you, everyone.
all
Stay
for,
safe and healthy out there.
Yeah. Thank you all for the effort that you put into this and for sharing the information for our members and others in the industry. I think it's well appreciated.
It's our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe now.